The young student froze when she saw her childhood photo in the university director's office. Gabriella Moore's hands trembled as she clutched her portfolio to her chest. The hallway of the National University of Arts seemed longer today, stretching endlessly toward the heavy oak door at the end. Each step on the polished marble floor echoed her racing heartbeat. This meeting with the university director would determine her future. Her final project needed his approval to graduate. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, unconsciously hiding the crescent-shaped birthmark beneath. A habit from childhood, the brass nameplate on the door gleamed. Dr. Richard Bennett, director. Taking a deep breath, she knocked. "Come in," a deep voice called from within. Dr. Bennett's office was exactly what you'd expect from the director of a prestigious arts university, elegant but not ostentatious. Bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes reached toward the high ceiling. The afternoon sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating dancing dust particles and casting a golden glow on the antique furniture. The man himself stood to greet her, tall and distinguished, with salt and pepper hair and steel-gray eyes that seemed both piercing and kind. At 50, Dr. Bennett maintained the posture of a much younger man, though fine lines around his eyes hinted at past sorrows. "Miss Moore, please sit down." He gestured toward a leather chair across from his desk. "I've been looking forward to discussing your final project proposal." Gabriella sat, carefully placing her portfolio on her lap. "Thank you for making time to see me, Dr. Bennett. I know how busy you are. Never too busy for promising students," he smiled. Though it didn't quite reach his eyes, there was something melancholic about him that Gabriella had always noticed but never understood as she began explaining her concept. A multimedia installation exploring memory and loss. Her gaze drifted to the items on his desk, a fountain pen in a marble holder, a small clock, and then a silver-framed photograph that made her heart stop mid-sentence. "Miss Moore," Dr. Bennett prompted, after several seconds of silence. "Are you all right?" Gabriella couldn't tear her eyes from the photograph. A little girl, maybe 4 years old, wearing a blue pinafore and clutching a worn teddy bear with a missing eye. But it was the birthmark, a perfect crescent moon below her left ear, that sent a jolt of electricity through Gabriella's body. "That photograph," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where did you get it?" Dr. Bennett followed her gaze, his expression shifting from confusion to something unreadable. He picked up the frame with reverence, like someone handling a precious relic. "This was my daughter," he said softly. "I lost her 20 years ago." Gabriella's mouth went dry. "May I?" she asked, extending her hand reluctantly. He passed her the frame. Her fingers trembled as she traced the girl's face through the glass. The teddy bear. She knew that bear, Mr. Patches, she'd called him. Her only friend at St. Mary's Home for Children. Slowly, deliberately, she tucked her hair behind her ear, revealing the crescent-shaped birthmark that had always made her different. Dr. Bennett's face drained of color. "My God," he whispered. "It can't be." "Where did you get this picture?" Gabriella repeated, her voice stronger now, demanding. "This teddy bear. I had one exactly like it growing up in the orphanage, and this birthmark..." She touched the mark below her ear. Dr. Bennett sank into his chair, looking as though he might faint. "Gabriella," he said, pronouncing her name with newfound significance. "How old are you?" 24. "And you grew up in an orphanage. Which one?" "St. Mary's Home. I was left there when I was 4. The pieces were beginning to fit together in her mind, forming an impossible picture. They said there was a thunderstorm that night. I had nothing but a yellow blanket and a teddy bear. This teddy bear." Dr. Bennett pressed his palms against his eyes. When he looked up, they were rimmed with red. "My daughter's name was Gabriella. She would be 24 now. She had that same birthmark. Her mother used to kiss it every night before bed." His voice cracked. "I was told she died with her mother in a car accident 20 years ago." The portfolio slipped from Gabriella's lap. Scattering sketches across the floor, neither moved to pick them up. "That's not possible," she whispered, even as a lifetime of questions began finding answers. The dreams of a woman's voice singing her to sleep. The strange familiarity she'd felt upon entering the university for the first time. The inexplicable draw she'd always felt toward Dr. Bennett's office whenever she passed it. My brother-in-law, Michael, handled everything after the accident. Dr. Bennett continued, his words coming faster now. The funeral arrangements, the paperwork. I never saw the bodies. Elena, my wife, and our daughter were in closed caskets. Michael said they were too badly injured for an open viewing. He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes wild. I never questioned it. Why would I? He was family. Elena's brother. Gabriella felt like she was falling, though she sat perfectly still. Are you saying that we could be? A knock at the door interrupted her. Dr. Victoria Hale, the university's vice director, entered without waiting for a response. A tall, elegant woman with sharp features and calculating eyes. She stopped short at the scene before her. The scattered papers, Gabriella's pale face, Dr. Bennett's evident distress. Richard, is everything all right? Her gaze fell to the silver frame in Gabriella's hands, and something flickered across her face. Something like fear. Victoria, Dr. Bennett said, his voice strangely hollow. This is Gabriella Moore, one of our graduating students. Dr. Hale's smile didn't reach her eyes. We've met at faculty functions. She turned to Gabriella. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to discuss something urgent with Dr. Bennett. Actually, we were just... Gabriella began, but Dr. Bennett cut her off. It's fine, Miss Moore. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. His eyes locked with hers, conveying a silent message. Not now, not in front of her. As Gabriella gathered her scattered materials, she overheard Dr. Hale whispering to Dr. Bennett, You need to stop this obsession, Richard. It's been 20 years. That girl is gone. Outside the office, Gabriella leaned against the wall, clutching the strap of her bag until her knuckles turned white. Her entire life had just been turned upside down by a photograph in a silver frame. Who was she really? And why did Victoria Hale look at her with such unmistakable dread? One thing was certain. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Gabriella couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that silver-framed photograph, the teddy bear, the birthmark, the lost little girl who might be her. By dawn, she had made a decision. The gates of St. Mary's Home for Children stood exactly as she remembered. Wrought iron curves topped with fleur-de-lis, somehow both welcoming and imposing. The red brick building beyond hadn't changed either, its windows like watchful eyes observing her return. Lord have mercy, breathed Sister Agnes, the first to spot Gabriella in the foyer. The elderly nun's hands flew to her mouth. Our little Gabby, all grown up. Minutes later, Gabriella sat in Mother Superior's office, a room that had once terrified her, but now seemed impossibly small. Mother Josephine had aged considerably, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, her back stooped, but her eyes remained sharp and kind beneath wire-rimmed glasses. What brings you back to us, child? The older woman poured tea into delicate cups that had seen better days. Gabriella pulled out her phone, displaying the photo she'd surreptitiously taken of Dr. Bennett's silver-framed picture. I need to know everything about the night I was brought here. Mother Josephine studied the image, her expression softening. The thunderstorm night. How could I forget? She set down her cup. It was past midnight, lightning splitting the sky. Sister Margaret was on door duty when the bell rang. Who brought me? A woman, elegant, dressed in black despite the summer heat. She wore a veil, but I saw her face when she thought no one was looking. Mother Josephine's eyes narrowed at the memory. Beautiful, but cold. There was something calculated in her movements. Did she say anything about where I came from? Who my parents were? Only that your parents had died tragically, and there was no one to care for you. She left a generous donation. The nun hesitated. There was something else, though. A detail I've always found curious. Gabriella leaned forward. What? A ring on her finger. An emerald the size of a robin's egg, set in platinum. Not the kind of jewelry one wears to abandon a child at an orphanage in the middle of the night. And her voice. Cultured. Educated. She wasn't some desperate mother with nowhere to turn. Gabriella's mind raced. Did she sign any paperwork? Leave a name? Jane Smith, Mother Josephine said with a rueful smile. Obviously false. The paperwork was minimal, just enough to make the handover legal. We tried to find out more, for your sake, but it was as if you appeared out of nowhere." Gabriella stared into her tea. "I think I might have found my father." Mother Josephine's eyebrows shot up. "Child, that's wonderful news." "It's complicated," Gabriella said, recounting her strange meeting with Dr. Bennett. The nun listened intently, her expression growing troubled. "This Dr. Hale who interrupted you, did you say her first name was Victoria?" "Yes, she's the vice director at the university." Mother Josephine opened a drawer in her desk, rifling through old photos until she found what she was looking for: a yellowed newspaper clipping. "This came out about a year after you arrived. I saved it because the woman reminded me of your mysterious benefactor." The article featured a university gala. In the center stood a younger doctor, Bennett, beside a striking woman identified as Dr. Victoria Hale, newly appointed professor of art history. On her right hand gleamed an emerald ring. Gabriella's breath caught. "It's her, if what you suspect is true," Mother Josephine said carefully. "Then this woman may have been involved in separating you from your family. But why? What could she possibly gain? That, my dear, is what you need to find out." Dr. Bennett was waiting for Gabriella in the university garden, away from prying eyes and listening ears. He looked as though he hadn't slept either, his usually immaculate appearance slightly rumpled. "I went to St. Mary's this morning," Gabriella said without preamble. He nodded, unsurprised. "And the woman who brought me there 20 years ago was wearing an emerald ring, like the one Victoria Hale wears." Dr. Bennett closed his eyes briefly, absorbing this. "Victoria is Michael's sister. They've always been close." "Tell me about the accident," Gabriella said. "Everything you remember." They sat on a stone bench surrounded by blooming roses. Dr. Bennett's voice was steady, but distant, as if he were reciting a story he'd told many times before. "It was summer, like now. Elena, my wife, was taking our daughter to visit her grandmother. I had a conference that weekend." His eyes clouded with old guilt. "I should have been with them. What happened? Their car went off a mountain road. Michael called me at the conference. By the time I got home, he had arranged everything, identified the bodies, organized the funeral." He swallowed hard. "I was too devastated to question anything. Michael was Elena's brother. He was grieving too, or so I thought. You never saw them, never identified them yourself. The caskets were closed. Michael insisted it would be too traumatic, that they were unrecognizable." His voice broke. "For 20 years, I've lived with the image of my wife and daughter broken beyond recognition. And now," Gabriella hesitated, then reached for his hand. It felt strange, this tentative connection to a man who might be her father. "We need proof," she said. "Real proof. Not just coincidences and suspicions." Dr. Bennett nodded. "I've been thinking about that. There should be hospital records, police reports from the accident, and..." He paused, meeting her eyes. "A DNA test would be definitive." "I want to look for those records first," Gabriella said. "If what we suspect is true, if Michael and Victoria fabricated our deaths, there might be inconsistencies in the paperwork. The county records office would have the accident report," Dr. Bennett said, "and Mercy Hospital would have handled any remains." Gabriella flinched at the word but nodded. "I'll go to the records office tomorrow. You should try the hospital. Victoria will be watching me closely after yesterday," he warned. "She's always been protective of Michael's reputation. If they're involved in this, then we need to be careful," Gabriella finished. "I'll use my student research credentials at the records office. You could say you're finally seeking closure after all these years." They parted with an awkward goodbye, neither quite ready to acknowledge what they might be to each other that evening. Gabriella's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "County records office. Nothing there. All files from that date are missing. Meeting with retired clerk tomorrow who remembers case. Be careful. Rob..." Gabriella stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, tucking her hair behind her ear to fully reveal the crescent-shaped birthmark. For the first time in her life, this mark that had made her different, that had prompted teasing in the orphanage, might be the key to discovering who she really was, a truth that someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal. The lab technician carefully swabbed the inside of Gabriella's cheek, then sealed the sample in a sterile container. "That's it," he said with a practiced smile. "We'll have the results in about 3 weeks." 3 weeks. Gabriella couldn't hide her disappointment. After everything she'd discovered, waiting another 21 days felt impossible. Standard processing time, the technician explained, unless you want to pay for expedition. Dr. Bennett, who had been quietly observing from the corner, stepped forward. Expedite it, please, whatever it costs. The tech nodded. 5 business days, then. 5 days. Gabriella could handle 5 days. Outside the DNA testing facility, the summer heat hit them like a wall. Dr. Bennett loosened his tie as they walked to his car. "What did the retired clerk tell you?" Gabriella asked, picking up their investigation where they'd left off. "Interesting things." Dr. Bennett unlocked the car door for her. He remembered the case because it felt wrong to him from the start. No skid marks on the road. No mechanical failure in the vehicle. Perfect weather conditions. And most importantly, no bodies recovered from the wreckage. Just personal effects that could have been planted. Gabriella absorbed this. So the accident was staged. Looking that way? But here's where it gets stranger. He says Michael pressured the department to close the case quickly, made a sizable donation to their retirement fund. "Buying silence," Gabriella murmured. They drove in contemplative silence for several minutes before Dr. Bennett spoke again. "I've been thinking about that night. The night of the supposed accident. I was at a conference in Boston. Elena called me before bedtime, like she always did when we were apart. What did she say? Nothing unusual. She and Gabby, you, were at her mother's, planning to drive home the next day." His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. What if they never left? What if they never got into that car at all? Gabriella stared out the window, watching the city blur past. "We need to find hospital records. If there were no bodies, what exactly did Michael have you bury?" Dr. Bennett flinched visibly at the question. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "That was insensitive. No, you're right. We need to face these questions." He pulled into the university parking lot. "I've contacted a former colleague who works at Mercy Hospital. She's going to check their archives." As they walked across campus, Gabriella felt eyes on her. Turning, she caught sight of Victoria Hale watching them from her office window, her expression unreadable even at a distance. "She's watching us," Gabriella whispered. "Let her watch," Dr. Bennett replied, a new determination in his voice. "We have nothing to hide." That night, the dream came again, more vivid than ever. Gabriella was small, tucked into a bed with pink sheets. A woman with warm eyes and chestnut hair like her own sat beside her, singing softly while playing with her hair. The woman's fingers gently traced the crescent mark beneath Gabriella's ear, and she bent to kiss it. "My little moon child," the woman whispered. In the doorway stood a shadow, someone watching them, someone whose presence made the woman tense. Gabriella woke with tears on her cheeks, and a melody stuck in her head, a lullaby she couldn't possibly remember, but somehow knew by heart. She fumbled for her phone in the darkness, typing a text to Dr. Bennett. Did Elena play piano? Did she sing lullabies? His response came moments later. Yes to both. How did you know? Gabriella's hands shook as she replied. I dream about her. Days crawled by as they waited for the DNA results. Gabriella threw herself into research, digging through newspaper archives for any mention of the accident. While Dr. Bennett cautiously probed his old contacts for information, they met daily at a small cafe off campus, exchanging notes and building their case. With each piece of evidence, the picture became clearer. Michael Hale had orchestrated an elaborate hoax to fake the deaths of Elena and her daughter. But why? Gabriella asked for the 100th time, spreading their notes across the table. What could he possibly gain? I don't know, Doctor, Bennett admitted. Michael and I were never close, but we were cordial. He was best man at our wedding, godfather to you. Could it be money, an inheritance? Dr. Bennett shook his head. Elena's family had wealth, but Michael had his own career. And besides, everything went to me, not him. What about jealousy? Gabriella suggested. Maybe he resented your relationship with his sister. Dr. Bennett considered this. It's possible. He was always protective of Elena, even when we were dating. Victoria once mentioned that he took their parents' divorce particularly hard as a child, became obsessed with protecting the family, whatever that meant to him. A new thought struck Gabriella. What if he was in love with her? Dr. Bennett's expression darkened. That's disturbing to consider, but it would explain a lot. They were interrupted by Dr. Bennett's phone ringing. He answered, listening intently before his face drained of color. "We'll be right there," he said, ending the call. That was the DNA lab. "They want us to come in person for the results." The lab director, Dr. Patel, greeted them with professional detachment that did nothing to calm Gabriella's nerves. "We don't normally deliver results in person," he explained, "but given the sensitive nature of this case, I made an exception." "Is something wrong with the samples?" Dr. Bennett asked, his voice tight. "No, the samples were perfect." Dr. Patel opened a folder. "Before I show you the results, may I ask why you requested this test?" Gabriella and Dr. Bennett exchanged glances. "We have reason to believe we may be father and daughter," Dr. Bennett said carefully. Dr. Patel nodded. "I suspected as much." He turned the folder so they could see the results. The DNA comparison shows a 99,99998% probability of paternity. "Dr. Bennett, Miss Moore is unquestionably your biological daughter." The world seemed to stop. Gabriella heard the words, understood them intellectually, but couldn't process the emotional weight behind them. After 24 years of being no one's daughter, of having no history beyond an orphanage doorstep, she suddenly had a father, a past, an identity. She looked up to find Dr. Bennett, her father, openly weeping, something she'd never imagined the dignified academic capable of. "I knew it," he whispered. "Somehow, I knew it the moment I saw that birthmark." Dr. Patel discreetly excused himself, leaving them alone with their new reality. "Gabriella," Dr. Bennett said her name like a prayer. "My daughter, my Gabby." She reached across the table, taking his hands in hers. "I found you," she said simply, her own tears finally falling. After all this time, they embraced awkwardly, two strangers connected by blood but separated by decades of lies. It would take time to feel natural, to build what had been stolen from them. But they had taken the first step. As they left the lab, walking together into the bright afternoon, Gabriella felt both lighter and heavier. One question had been answered, but another, more urgent one had taken its place. "If I'm alive," she said, stopping suddenly on the sidewalk, "then what happened to Elena? To my mother? Is she still out there somewhere too?" Dr. Bennett's expression shifted from joy to grim determination. "That's what we're going to find out. And if she is, we'll find her, no matter what it takes." "They're not in the system," said Nancy Winters, the head nurse at Mercy Hospital's records department. She frowned at her computer screen, fingers tapping away at the keyboard. No death certificates, no morgue records, no autopsies. Nothing for Elena or Gabriella Bennett on that date. Richard Bennett, Gabriella still couldn't think of him simply as Dad, leaned forward in his chair. "That's impossible. The funeral home had death certificates. I saw them." Nancy, a sturdy woman in her 60s with salt and pepper hair pulled into a tight bun, had been Richard's contact at the hospital. She'd known him for years, had even attended Elena's funeral. "Let me check something else," she said, her brow furrowing deeper. "Sometimes older records get misfiled in the archive system." While Nancy searched, Gabriella studied the family photo on the woman's desk. 3 generations of smiling faces at a backyard barbecue. The kind of normal family history she'd never had, but might have been hers in another reality. "This is odd," Nancy finally said, looking up from her screen. "There's a notation here. Records sealed by court order, June 15th, 2005. That's 3 days after the accident." Richard and Gabriella exchanged glances. "Who requested the seal?" Richard asked. Nancy shook her head. "It doesn't say, but sealing medical records typically requires a judge's order, usually for privacy in high-profile cases or ongoing investigations. Or to hide something," Gabriella added quietly. Nancy looked around the empty records office, then lowered her voice. "Listen, I shouldn't be telling you this, but there's a woman you should talk to. Meredith Diaz. She was an ER nurse here back then. Retired now, but she's the one who called me about your records search." "Called you?" Richard asked. "How did she know?" "Word gets around in hospital circles," Nancy said with a shrug. "But here's the thing. She specifically asked me to give you her number if you came looking." Said she's been waiting 20 years for someone to ask the right questions. Meredith Diaz lived in a modest bungalow on the outskirts of town. Wind chimes tinkled on her porch as Richard and Gabriella approached. The door opened before they could knock, revealing a petite woman with intelligent eyes and a wary expression. "Dr. Bennett," she acknowledged with a nod. "And this must be Gabriella." Her eyes lingered on Gabriella's face, recognition flickering in them. "My God, you look just like your mother." Inside, Meredith served them iced tea in mismatched glasses, her hands trembling slightly as she set them down. "I've been waiting for this day," she said, settling into an armchair across from them. "Hoping for it, really, but also dreading it." "You were working the night of the accident," Richard prompted gently. Meredith nodded. "Night shift in the ER. The thing is, Dr. Bennett, there was no accident, at least not one that came through our doors." Richard stiffened. "What do you mean?" "No crash victims were brought to Mercy that night. No doways. No injured patients matching your wife's or daughter's descriptions." She took a deep breath. "But your brother-in-law was there. Michael." Richard's voice sharpened. "What was he doing at the hospital?" "He came in around midnight with a woman. She was unconscious. He claimed she'd had an adverse reaction to medication. He had papers saying he was her physician and next of kin." Meredith's gaze dropped to her hands. "The woman had chestnut hair. I only saw her briefly, but she looked like an older version of her." She nodded toward Gabriella. Gabriella felt a chill despite the summer heat. "You think it was my mother?" "I don't know for certain," Meredith admitted. "But what I do know is that Dr. Michael Hale used his hospital privileges to admit her to a private room, then had her transferred out within hours. Against protocol, when I questioned it, he said she was being moved to a specialized facility." "Where?" Richard asked, his voice barely a whisper. "He wouldn't say, called it a family matter, and told me to forget what I'd seen." "But you didn't," Gabriella observed. Meredith's expression hardened. "I've been a nurse for 43 years, young lady. I know when something's not right. A week later, I tried to check those records and found they'd been expunged. A month after that, I was transferred to the geriatric ward. Professional punishment for asking questions." Richard was pale now, his hands gripping his knees. "If what you're saying is true, if Michael brought Elena to the hospital unconscious and then moved her somewhere else, what about our daughter? What about Gabriella?" "There was no child with him that night," Meredith said. "But the next morning, I overheard him on the phone in the doctor's lounge. He said, 'The child has been taken care of. Victoria handled it.' Then he saw me and ended the call. Gabriella felt sick. Victoria took me to the orphanage. Did you ever report this?" Richard asked, an edge to his voice. Meredith laughed bitterly. "To whom?" Michael Hale was chief of neurology. On the hospital board, his family funded the East Wing. I was a middle-aged nurse with a mortgage and a kid in college." She shook her head. "I did try once. Wrote to the medical board anonymously. Nothing came of it. Did you ever see anything else? Hear anything?" Gabriella pressed. Meredith hesitated. "Just rumors. Michael always had a strange attachment to your wife. Staff used to gossip about how he'd show up whenever she had appointments at the hospital. How he'd insist on overseeing her care personally when she had bronchitis that one winter." Richard rubbed his face. "Elena mentioned that he could be overprotective. Said it was because they lost their parents young. I never thought." "There's one more thing," Meredith said. Rising from her chair, she disappeared into another room, returning with a faded envelope. "About a year after that night, I received this in my mailbox, no return address. Inside was a single photograph. A woman in a hospital bed, her face partially obscured by an oxygen mask, but her chestnut hair and delicate profile unmistakable to anyone who knew her. Through the window behind her, snow was falling. Richard's hand shook as he held the photo. "This is Elena. Where was this taken?" "I don't know," Meredith said. "But look at the date stamp in the corner. December 2006, Gabriella read aloud. 18 months after she supposedly died." Richard stared at the photograph, his expression a mixture of hope and anguish. "She was alive, at least then. The question is," Gabriella said, "is she still alive now? And where has she been all this time? Back at Richard's house?" A place Gabriella was still getting used to thinking of as her childhood home. They spread their evidence across the dining table. The DNA results, Meredith's photo, notes from their investigation. "We need to find Victoria," Gabriella said. "Confront her directly." Richard shook his head. "Not yet. Victoria is the careful one. Always has been. Michael was impulsive, emotional. But Victoria, she thinks 5 steps ahead. If we confront her without knowing everything, she'll deny it all and destroy whatever evidence remains. Then what do we do?" Richard pulled out his laptop. "We follow the money. Michael and Victoria both come from wealth. But maintaining a secret facility, paying off officials, that would leave a trail." As Richard began searching financial records, Gabriella picked up the photo from Meredith. She studied the snowy scene outside the window, a partial view of pine trees and what looked like mountains in the distance. "I think I know how to find this place," she said suddenly. "The window reflection. There's a sign. I can just make out the letters VT." Richard looked up sharply. "Vermont," Gabriella nodded, excitement building. "And look at the medical chart hanging at the foot of the bed. There's a logo. I can research medical facilities in Vermont with that emblem." For the first time since this began, Gabriella felt they had a real lead, a tangible path to finding her mother. As she began her search, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Stop digging or you'll regret it. Some doors should stay closed." She showed it to Richard, whose face darkened. "They know we're looking," he said grimly. "We need to move faster." "Pinewood Haven," Gabriella announced, slapping a printout onto the kitchen table where Richard was making coffee. "A private psychiatric facility in northern Vermont, nestled in the Green Mountains. Look familiar." Richard studied the image. A stately Victorian building surrounded by towering pines, with the same mountain silhouette visible in Meredith's photo. "That's it," he said, voice tightening. "That has to be it." "It gets better," Gabriella continued, unable to contain her excitement despite the gravity of what they were uncovering. "Guess who sits on their board of trustees? Hale Neurological Foundation, Michael's private research organization." Richard's hand froze mid-pour. "He's been hiding her in plain sight all these years." "There's more," Gabriella spread out her research. "I found financial records showing the foundation pays for a long-term residential patient at Pinewood. The payments started in July 2005, 1 month after the accident." Richard sank into a chair. "Coffee forgotten. We need to go there. Already booked our flights," Gabriella said. "We leave tomorrow morning." Richard looked up sharply. "That's efficient. I learned to be self-sufficient at St. Mary's," she said with a wry smile. "Besides, every day we wait is another day she's there, not knowing who she is or that we're looking for her." Richard nodded, then hesitated. What if she's not the same? 20 years in an institution. Gabriella had considered this too. "Then we'll deal with it, together." Their moment was interrupted by Richard's phone ringing. He glanced at the screen and grimaced. "It's Victoria." "Answer it," Gabriella urged. "Act normal." Richard put the call on speaker. "Victoria, hello? Richard? Where have you been?" Victoria's voice was smooth, but held an undertone of tension. "You've missed 2 board meetings and your assistant says you're taking sudden leave. Personal matters," Richard replied vaguely. "Nothing to worry about. Personal matters involving that student. Gabriella Moore." The name was spoken with subtle emphasis. "People are talking, Richard. It doesn't look appropriate." Richard's jaw tightened. "What exactly are they saying, Victoria?" A pause. "That you're having some sort of relationship with her. That's ridiculous." "Is it? You've been seen together all over town, at medical facilities no less." Gabriella felt a chill. They were being watched. "She's helping me with research," Richard said evenly. "For a book I'm writing." "A book?" Victoria's disbelief was palpable. "About what?" "Grief, loss, moving forward." Richard's eyes met Gabriella's across the table. "It's time I put the past behind me, don't you think?" Another pause. "Michael would be pleased to hear that. He's always worried about you, you know. Living in the past." "How is Michael these days?" Richard asked casually. "We've lost touch." "Not well, I'm afraid. His health has declined significantly. Parkinson's, early onset dementia. He barely leaves his house anymore." Richard's expression revealed nothing. "I'm sorry to hear that. Perhaps I should visit him." "That's not necessary." Victoria said quickly. He doesn't recognize most people now. It would only upset him. All the same, I think I should for Elena's sake. A long silence followed. Do what you must, Richard. But remember, some memories are better left undisturbed for everyone's sake. The line went dead. That was a threat, Gabriella said quietly. Richard nodded. And a revelation. Michael is vulnerable. Victoria is protecting him. And their secret. Should we confront Michael before going to Vermont? Richard considered this. No. If Elena is at Pinewood, that's our priority. Michael isn't going anywhere. Vermont welcomed them with rolling green hills and a sky so blue it hurt the eyes. They rented a car at Burlington Airport and drove north into increasingly remote territory. Cell service faded in and out as they wound through mountain passes. According to the GPS, Pinewood Haven should be just beyond the next ridge, Richard said, squinting at unfamiliar roads. The facility appeared suddenly around a bend, an imposing Victorian structure with a modern wing added to one side. A discreet sign marked the entrance to the long driveway. Pinewood Haven, residential care facility. How do we get in? Gabriella asked as they parked in the visitor lot. We can't exactly say, Hi, we're looking for a woman who was declared dead 20 years ago. Richard reached into his jacket pocket and produced a business card. Dr. Richard Bennett, neuropsychologist, consulting on a research paper about long-term memory care facilities. Gabriella raised an eyebrow. You came prepared. I wasn't always just a university administrator, he reminded her with a faint smile. The receptionist, a young woman with bright eyes and a practiced smile, greeted them warmly. Do you have an appointment? No, I'm afraid not, Richard said apologetically, offering his card. I'm conducting research on memory care methodologies across New England facilities. I was hoping to speak with your director. The receptionist's smile faltered slightly. Dr. Sanderson is very busy. Perhaps if you called ahead. We've come all the way from Massachusetts, Gabriella interjected, adopting a pleading tone. My father's research is time-sensitive. Even 15 minutes would be invaluable. The magic words, father and research, seemed to soften the receptionist's stance. She picked up a phone, speaking quietly before turning back to them. Dr. Sanderson can spare 10 minutes. Please wait here, as they settled into the waiting area's leather chairs. Gabriella whispered, What's our actual plan once we get past the gatekeeper? Improvise. Richard murmured back, but look for an opportunity to see patient areas. All we need is a glimpse. Dr. Sanderson proved to be a harried-looking man in his 50s with thinning hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He ushered them into a modest office lined with medical texts and framed credentials. I understand you're researching memory care, he began, clearly wanting to get the meeting over with. Richard launched into a convincing monologue about his fictitious research project, while Gabriella scanned the office for anything useful. Her attention caught on a photograph of the facility's staff, with Dr. Sanderson front and center. Is this your full medical team? She asked, interrupting Richard. Dr. Sanderson glanced at the photo. Yes, that was taken at our last staff retreat. We have 23 full-time medical professionals here. Impressive, Gabriella said, studying the faces. For how many patients? 42 currently. We maintain a high staff-to-patient ratio. May we tour the facility? Richard asked. Seeing your methods in action would be tremendously helpful. Dr. Sanderson hesitated. I'm afraid that's not possible without prior arrangement. Patient privacy concerns, you understand. Of course. Richard nodded. Perhaps just the common areas. I really don't have time today, Dr. Sanderson said firmly. If you'd like to schedule a proper visit, my secretary can arrange it with 2 weeks' notice and proper credentialing. 2 weeks was too long. They needed to see now. Gabriella's phone rang suddenly. A stroke of luck. Excuse me, she said, stepping out of the office into the hallway. It was a spam call, but she pretended to have an urgent conversation, moving further down the corridor. When she was out of sight of the office, she quickened her pace, looking for anything. A patient directory, a floor plan, anything that might help. She rounded a corner and nearly collided with an elderly man in hospital scrubs pushing a cart of gardening supplies. Sorry, she apologized. I was looking for the restroom. The old man smiled kindly. Down that way. Miss, but if you're looking to see the gardens, they're through those doors. The patients are out there now, for their afternoon fresh air. Gardens? Patients? Afternoon fresh air. Thank you, Gabriella said, heart pounding as she changed direction. The doors opened onto a beautifully maintained garden with winding paths, raised flower beds, and benches placed strategically in sunny spots. About a dozen patients in various stages of age and apparent cognition were scattered throughout, some with attendants nearby, others sitting alone. Gabriella scanned their faces desperately, looking for chestnut hair, for eyes like her own. Most of the patients were elderly, their movements slow, expressions vacant. Then she saw her. A woman in her late 50s with streaks of silver in her once chestnut hair sat alone on a bench, carefully tending to a pot of white flowers. Her profile was achingly familiar, the same one Gabriella saw in the mirror, just softened by time. Gabriella froze, unable to breathe, unable to move. The woman looked up, perhaps sensing someone watching her. Their eyes met across the garden, the same shade of amber brown. For one heart-stopping moment, Gabriella thought she saw a flicker of recognition. Then a voice behind her shattered the moment. "Miss Bennett, you can't be in here." Dr. Sanderson was striding toward her, Richard close behind with an apologetic expression. But Gabriella couldn't tear her eyes away from the woman on the bench, who was now looking at them curiously. "Mom," she whispered, too softly for anyone to hear. "I'm very sorry about my daughter," Richard apologized, gripping Gabriella's elbow firmly as Dr. Sanderson escorted them back through the facility. "She's enthusiastic about my research. This is a clear violation of patient privacy," Dr. Sanderson fumed, his earlier professional demeanor cracking. "I'm going to have to ask you both to leave immediately." "Of course," Richard nodded, still maintaining his apologetic facade. "But before we go, that woman in the garden with the white flowers, she reminded me of someone, a former colleague with similar memory issues." Dr. Sanderson's steps faltered slightly. "Patient information is confidential." "Naturally," Richard agreed. "I just wondered about her treatment approach. She seemed quite functional, tending those plants independently." Dr. Sanderson hesitated, professional pride momentarily overriding his irritation. "That's Jane Doe, one of our long-term residents. 19 years now. Remarkable case, actually. Retrograde amnesia with no physical trauma markers. She's been stable for years, though she's never recovered her autobiographical memory. Jane Doe. 19 years. Gabriella's heart hammered against her ribs. "Does she have any family?" she asked, unable to stop herself. Dr. Sanderson's suspicious gaze swung to her. "No. She was found wandering in a confused state. No identification. No memory of her identity." "Now, if you'll excuse us." "Dr. Sanderson," a nurse rushed toward them, slightly breathless. "You're needed in the East Wing. Mr. Harrington is having an episode." Sanderson sighed. "Take these people to reception," he instructed the nurse before hurrying away. The nurse, young, with kind eyes and a name tag reading Emily, smiled apologetically. "This way, please." As they walked, Gabriella took a chance. That woman in the garden, Jane Doe, she seemed so peaceful. Emily's expression softened. She's everyone's favorite, so gentle, always humming these beautiful melodies. She doesn't remember anything about her past, but she remembers every song she's ever heard. Richard's step faltered. "She sings. Oh, beautifully," Emily nodded. "She used to be a music teacher. We think she can play anything on the piano by ear." Elena had been a music professor before Gabriella was born. "That's fascinating," Gabriella said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Has she ever had any moments of recognition with visitors or staff?" "Not really. Though," Emily lowered her voice, glancing around. "There was an incident last Christmas. One of our doctors was playing carols on the piano, and Jane started singing harmony. Perfectly. When he asked where she learned that, she said, 'Richard taught me.' Then she got very upset because she couldn't remember who Richard was." Gabriella felt her father tense beside her. At reception, Emily handed them a facility brochure. "If you're genuinely interested in memory care research, our volunteer program might be appropriate. It requires background checks, of course, but volunteers can assist with recreational activities." Gabriella seized the opening. "That sounds perfect for my dissertation research. When can I apply?" She's alive. Richard's voice broke as they drove back toward their hotel. Elena is alive. Gabriella stared out the window, processing everything. She doesn't remember who she is, but she remembered your name, and she sings and plays piano. The music was always in her soul, Richard said softly. We used to play duets at faculty gatherings. She could harmonize to anything. Dr. Sanderson seemed nervous when you asked about her, Gabriella observed. He knows something. Richard's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The Hale Foundation pays for her care. Sanderson has to know there's something unusual about her case. We need to get her out of there, Gabriella said firmly. We can't just walk in and take her, Richard cautioned. She's been there for 19 years. It's the only reality she knows. And legally, she's your wife, Gabriella interrupted. You have power of attorney, medical proxy, everything. She was never declared dead. Michael just told you she was. We need proof she's Elena first, Richard said. And we need to approach this carefully. If we spook Sanderson, he might contact the Hale Foundation. Then Victoria will know we found her. Gabriella nodded reluctantly. So what do? You volunteer, like that nurse suggested. Build rapport with Elena, with Jane. Meanwhile, I'll work on the legal angle, get a court order for DNA testing if necessary. That could take weeks, Gabriella protested. I know, Richard sighed, but rushing in could make things worse. We need to be strategic. When they reached their hotel, a message was waiting for Richard at the front desk. A local number with an urgent request to call back. Richard dialed, putting the call on speaker in their room. This is Nurse Emily from Pinewood, came the hushed voice. I hope you don't mind that I got your number from the visitor log. There's something you should know about Jane Doe. We're listening, Richard said cautiously. After you left, she was agitated, kept asking about the girl with the moon mark. I think she meant the birthmark under your daughter's ear. Gabriella touched the crescent unconsciously. Jane has a photo by her bed, Emily continued. It's faded, water damaged, just shows a teddy bear with one eye. She claims it belonged to someone important, but she can't remember who. Mr. Patches, the bear from the silver-framed photograph. There's more, Emily said, her voice dropping further. I accessed her intake records. The date she was brought in, June 16th, 2005, matches what you were asking about. And the doctor who admitted her, Dr. Michael Hale, he listed himself as her physician but restricted all other staff access to her. Why are you telling us this? Richard asked. A pause. Because something's not right. Jane doesn't belong here. She's not mentally ill. She just can't remember. And the way Dr. Sanderson panicked when you asked about her, Emily took a deep breath. My grandmother had dementia. I know what it looks like when someone recognizes a loved one. Even if they can't place them. Jane recognized you both today. After hanging up, Gabriella and Richard sat in stunned silence. We need to see her again, Gabriella finally said. Tomorrow. The volunteer coordinator at Pinewood seemed delighted to have Gabriella join their afternoon recreation program the next day. Richard waited in the car, too recognizable after their previous visit. Gabriella helped with art therapy, distributed snacks, and waited anxiously for garden time. When the patients finally moved outside, she followed, her heart pounding. Jane Doe, Elena, sat at the same bench, this time with a book open on her lap, though she wasn't reading it. Instead, she watched a robin hopping along the path, a small smile playing on her lips. Gabriella approached slowly, carrying a watering can as her excuse. Would you like me to water your flowers? She asked gently. Elena looked up, and that same flicker of something, recognition, confusion, wonder, crossed her face. Oh, hello again. I'm Gabriella. I'm volunteering today. That's a beautiful name, Elena said, studying her face. I knew a Gabriella once, I think. Or maybe I dreamed it. She frowned slightly. Sometimes I can't tell the difference anymore. Gabriella's throat tightened. May I sit with you? Elena nodded, moving slightly to make room. Up close, Gabriella could see the fine lines around her eyes, the silver threading through her hair. 20 years had changed her, but couldn't erase the essence of the woman from the photograph in Richard's office. What are you reading? Gabriella asked, nodding toward the book. Poetry, frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, Elena recited, then smiled sadly. I remember every word of this book, but I can't remember where I lived before coming here. Isn't that strange? Memory is complicated, Gabriella said softly. Elena studied her face again. You have a mark under your ear, like a little moon. Gabriella brushed her hair aside, revealing the crescent. I've had it since birth. May I? Elena reached out hesitantly, then stopped herself. I'm sorry. That's inappropriate. I don't know why I wanted to touch it. It's okay, Gabriella whispered, leaning closer. Elena's fingertips brushed the mark. Featherlight. I used to kiss a mark just like this, she murmured, her eyes growing distant. Every night before bed, a little girl with a teddy bear. Tears filled Gabriella's eyes. Mr. Patches, she whispered. Elena jerked back as if burned. What did you say? The bear's name, Mr. Patches. He had one eye. Elena's hands began to shake. How do you know that? No one knows that. Because he was my bear, Gabriella said, her voice breaking. And you're my mother. Elena's face went pale. She stared at Gabriella with wide eyes, her breathing shallow and rapid. That's not possible, she whispered. They told me my family died. In a fire. Who told you that? Gabriella asked, keeping her voice gentle despite the anger rising inside her. Dr. Michael. He found me wandering with no memory. He said he knew me before, that I was his patient, that I'd lost my family and my memory in the same tragedy. Elena's hands trembled as she pressed them to her temples. But I never believed him. Not completely, there were inconsistencies. A nurse glanced their way, noticing Elena's distress. Gabriella smiled reassuringly, placing a calming hand on Elena's arm. Why don't we look at your flowers? She suggested loudly, then lowered her voice. We need to be careful. I have so much to tell you, but not here. Elena nodded almost imperceptibly, her years at Pinewood having taught her discretion. White lilacs, she said, indicating the flowers. They symbolize innocence and remembrance. They're beautiful, Gabriella said, her mind racing for a solution. How could she explain everything in the brief time they had? You said you're my daughter, Elena murmured, arranging the flowers with mechanical precision. But my daughter would be little, a child. It's been 20 years. Mom, Gabriella said, the word mom feeling foreign on her tongue. I'm 24 now. Elena's movements stilled. 20 years. She looked up, eyes clearing momentarily. But that would mean, what year is it? 2025. That can't be right, Elena whispered, but uncertainty crept into her voice. I arrived here, recently. You've been here since 2005, Gabriella corrected gently. They've been lying to you, keeping you sedated, confused. Michael Hale brought you here after faking your death. Elena's face contorted. Michael, he visits sometimes, always with the same story, that he's taking care of me, that I'm sick and need to stay here, that he's the only family I have left. Her hands curled into fists in her lap. I never trusted him. Something in his eyes when he looks at me. He was obsessed with you, Gabriella said. He arranged a fake car accident, told my father, your husband Richard, that you and I had died. He sent me to an orphanage and brought you here. Richard? Elena breathed the name like a forgotten prayer. I dream about someone named Richard, playing the piano while I sing. Gabriella fumbled with her phone, pulling up a photo of Richard she'd taken just that morning. This is him. My father. Your husband. Elena stared at the image, her fingers hovering over the screen. His hair is different, grayer, but his eyes... Tears spilled down her cheeks. I know those eyes. A memory seemed to surface, making her gasp. The car. I remember being in a car. Michael was driving. I was asking about Gabby, why she wasn't with us. He said she was meeting us later. Her face crumpled. He gave me something to drink, then darkness. Ms. Moore, a stern voice interrupted them. Dr. Sanderson stood a few feet away, his expression suspicious. Volunteers aren't supposed to engage in extended one-on-one interactions with patients. It disrupts their routines. Gabriella stood, positioning herself between Sanderson and Elena. We were just discussing the flowers, white lilacs. They symbolize remembrance. Did you know that? Jane's garden time is over, Sanderson said coldly. Nurse Wilson will escort her back to her room for her medication. No, Elena said suddenly, rising to her feet. I don't want medication today. Dr. Sanderson's eyebrows shot up. Jane Doe rarely refused anything. It's for your own good, Jane. You know how confused you get without it. My name isn't Jane, Elena said, her voice stronger now. And I'm not confused. Not anymore. 2 orderlies appeared, flanking Sanderson. The doctor sighed. I think you're having an episode, Jane. Let's get you inside. Gabriella stepped forward. You can't force medication on her. Ms. Moore, your volunteer services are no longer needed, Sanderson snapped. Security will escort you out. It's fine, Elena said to Gabriella, a new determination in her eyes. I'll be all right. Come back tomorrow with Richard. As security led Gabriella away, she glanced back to see the orderlies guiding Elena inside. Doctor, Sanderson following closely behind. They're going to sedate her, Gabriella said frantically as she climbed into Richard's car. We have to get her out of there. Slow down, Richard urged, though his knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. What exactly happened? Gabriella explained everything. Elena's fractured memories, her recognition of Richard's photo, and finally, Dr. Sanderson's intervention. We need legal help, Richard decided, pulling out his phone. I have a friend who practices family law. If Elena is being held against her will and medicated unnecessarily, that could take days, Gabriella protested. By then, they might move her, or worse. What are you suggesting? That we break her out? That's kidnapping, Gabriella. It's not kidnapping if she's your wife, Gabriella argued. And every moment she spends there is another moment they're drugging her into compliance. Richard started the car. Let's go back to the hotel. We need to think this through. At the hotel, a surprise awaited them. Victoria Hale, sitting calmly in the lobby. She rose as they entered, her elegant appearance at odds with the rustic Vermont inn. Richard, she greeted him coolly. And Mrs. Moore, how coincidental to find you both here. Richard's expression hardened. Not coincidental at all, I think. Victoria smiled thinly. Dr. Sanderson is an old family friend. He called me about your unusual interest in one of his patients. Her name is Elena, Gabriella said, stepping forward. Elena Bennett, my mother, Richard's wife. Victoria barely spared Gabriella a glance. The girl has quite an imagination, Richard, though I suppose you've encouraged these delusions. We have DNA proof, Richard said quietly. Gabriella is my daughter, and we know Elena is alive. The game is over, Victoria. Something shifted in Victoria's composure, a barely perceptible flinch. Come, let's discuss this privately. She led them to a secluded corner of the lobby. What exactly do you think you know? We know that Michael faked the accident, Richard said, his voice controlled, but threaded with anger. That he's been keeping Elena drugged and confused at Pinewood for 20 years while lying to me about her death. That you helped him by taking my 4-year-old daughter to an orphanage. Victoria's face remained impassive, but her fingers tightened around her purse. You have no proof of any of this. We have Elena's recognition, Gabriella countered. She remembers the teddy bear, the birthmark. She remembered Richard's name months ago, according to staff. Coincidences and the ramblings of a mentally ill woman, Victoria dismissed. Jane Doe has been diagnosed with severe psychiatric disorders. Any court would find her testimony unreliable. Why, Victoria? Richard asked, genuine bewilderment in his voice. Why would you and Michael do this? What possible reason could justify destroying our family? Victoria sighed, suddenly looking tired. Michael had his reasons. He believed he was protecting Elena. From what? Richard demanded. From you, Victoria said simply. Or rather, from the truth about you. Gabriella and Richard exchanged confused glances. Michael discovered something? Victoria continued reluctantly. About your family and Elena's. Something that complicated matters. He became convinced that separating you was the only solution. What are you talking about? Richard asked. Victoria shook her head. That's Michael's story to tell, not mine. But know this. If you pursue this, if you try to remove Jane from Pinewood or make these allegations public, there will be consequences. Michael may be unwell. but his foundation still wields considerable influence. Is that a threat? Gabriella asked. A reality check, Victoria corrected. Go home, Richard. Take your daughter and forget about Jane Doe. Everyone has moved on. You should too. Richard stood, towering over Victoria. I lost 20 years with my wife and daughter because of whatever sick game you and Michael have been playing. I'm not losing another day. His voice dropped dangerously low. I'm getting Elena out of that place, with or without your cooperation. The only question is how much damage your family's reputation suffers in the process. Victoria's composed mask finally cracked. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly, Richard said. Now get out of our way. After Victoria left, Gabriella turned to Richard. What did she mean about the truth about you? What could possibly justify all this? Richard shook his head. I have no idea, but we're not waiting to find out. Call Nurse Emily. We're getting your mother out of there tonight. You want to do what? Nurse Emily's voice crackled through the phone, pitched between shock and disbelief. Help us get her out, Gabriella repeated, pacing the hotel room. Tonight, that's against protocol, against the law. I could lose my license. She's being held under false pretenses, Richard said, leaning toward the phone speaker. You said yourself that something wasn't right about her case. A long pause followed, filled with the sound of Emily's breathing. Let me get this straight. You believe Jane Doe is actually your wife, Elena Bennett, who's been kept at Pinewood for 20 years after her death was faked. We don't just believe it, Gabriella said. We know it. She recognized me, remembered my teddy bear, my birthmark. She's starting to remember everything, which is exactly why they'll sedate her heavily tonight, Richard added grimly, and probably move her somewhere else tomorrow. Victoria Hale is already here. Another pause. Dr. Hale's sister, the one who funds Jane's care. The same, Richard confirmed. She just confronted us, warned us to leave Jane alone. God, Emily whispered. I could get in so much trouble for this. Or you could help right a terrible wrong, Gabriella countered. Please, Emily. We need someone on the inside. I'm not even on duty tonight, Emily protested weakly. But you have access, Richard pressed. Keycard, knowledge of the security systems. The sound of rustling came through the speaker, as if Emily was nervously fidgeting with something. Even if I wanted to help, Jane, Elena, would need to consent. I won't participate in taking her against her will. Of course, Gabriella agreed quickly. We just need to talk to her without Sanderson hovering, without medication fogging her mind. Emily sighed. My shift starts at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Jane usually has her morning medication at 8. If you came at 7:30, I could delay things, give you maybe 15 minutes with her. Thank you, Richard breathed, relief flooding his voice. Don't thank me yet, Emily warned. This could still go very wrong. Sleep was impossible. Gabriella and Richard spent the night reviewing their options, calling Richard's lawyer friend for advice, and preparing for every contingency. By dawn, they had a plan. Risky, potentially illegal, but their only shot. They arrived at Pinewood Haven at precisely 7:30 a.m. Emily met them at a side entrance, her face pale but determined. Jane refused her evening medication last night, she whispered, as she led them through quiet hallways. Doctor. Sanderson ordered an injection, but the night nurse documented it without actually giving it. She's sympathetic to Jane. Is she lucid? Richard asked tensely. More than I've ever seen her, Emily confirmed. And agitated. She keeps asking for you both. They reached a small sunroom, currently empty in the early morning hours. Wait here, Emily instructed. I'll bring her. 5 minutes later, Elena appeared in the doorway, wearing a simple blue dress instead of hospital scrubs. Her hair was brushed neatly, her eyes clear and alert. She froze when she saw Richard, her hand flying to her mouth. Richard, she whispered, the name falling from her lips with absolute certainty. Richard stood motionless, tears streaming down his face. Elena. They moved toward each other like magnets, finally freed from opposing forces. When Richard wrapped his arms around her, Elena shuddered, burying her face against his chest. I knew you were real, she murmured. All these years, They told me I was inventing you." Gabriella watched, her own tears flowing freely as her parents clung to each other, two pieces of a broken whole finally reunited. Emily hovered anxiously by the door. "You have 10 minutes, Max. Morning rounds start at 7:45. Elena pulled back to look at Richard's face, tracing his features with trembling fingers. "You're older," she said with a small smile, "but your eyes are the same." 20 years, Richard said hoarsely. "They stole 20 years from us." Elena turned to Gabriella, extending her hand. "And you, my little moonchild, all grown up." Gabriella joined their embrace, completing the circle that had been broken for 2 decades. "We're here to take you home," Richard said. "If you want to come with us." "Home," Elena repeated, as if tasting a foreign word. "I don't even remember what home looks like." "It's still there," Richard assured her. "Your piano, your garden, your books. I kept everything, Elena. Somehow I could never let it go." Emily cleared her throat nervously. "Dr. Sanderson arrived early. You need to decide now." Elena straightened, a new determination settling over her features. "I want to leave, right now." Richard quickly explained their plan. They had brought clothes for Elena, a simple outfit that wouldn't stand out. They had a car waiting. Richard's lawyer had prepared emergency papers claiming Elena was Richard's wife, who suffered from early onset dementia and was being relocated to a different facility. "It's flimsy," Richard admitted, "but it might buy us enough time to get to the state line." "What about after?" Elena asked. "They'll come looking for me. We have a DNA test scheduled for tomorrow," Gabriella explained. "Once we prove you're Elena Bennett, not Jane Doe, we can fight this legally." Elena nodded, her decision made. "Let's go." Emily helped Elena change in a nearby restroom, while Richard kept watch. Gabriella waited by the side exit, heart pounding with each passing second. They were halfway to the exit when an alarm blared through the facility. "Code White," announced a mechanical voice over the PA system. "All staff report to stations, Code White." "Patient escape protocol," Emily whispered, face draining of color. "Someone must have checked Jane's room. We need to move faster," Richard urged, taking Elena's arm to support her. They rounded the final corner to the exit and found Dr. Sanderson blocking their path, 2 security guards flanking him. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" he demanded, eyes cold with fury. Richard stepped forward, shielding Elena. "We're taking my wife home, doctor. Step aside." "Your wife died 20 years ago, Dr. Bennett. This woman is my patient, Jane Doe, who suffers from severe psychiatric delusions." "Her name is Elena Bennett," Gabriella countered. "And you've been keeping her drugged and confused for 2 decades. On whose orders?" "The Hale Foundation." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Sanderson's face. "This is absurd. Jane has been under my care since June 16th, 2005, Elena interrupted, her voice stronger than any of them expected. "The day after Michael Hale drugged me and told my husband I was dead." She stepped out from behind Richard, facing Sanderson directly. "I remember now, doctor. Not everything, but enough." Sanderson's professional demeanor cracked. "You don't understand. Your condition. My condition was manufactured," Elena said flatly. "By you and by Michael Hale. A convenient diagnosis to keep me compliant and isolated." "Security," Sanderson barked. "Take Jane back to her room for emergency medication." The guards moved forward, but hesitated when Richard pulled out his phone. "Before you touch my wife, you should know that our lawyer is on standby with a court order for her immediate release and DNA testing." It was a bluff. The court order was still pending, but delivered with enough confidence to give the guards pause. "And I've documented everything," Emily added, finding her courage. "The unnecessary medications, the falsified records, the fact that Jane, Elena, has never had a proper psychiatric evaluation by anyone not connected to the Hale Foundation." Sanderson's face reddened. "Nurse Williams, you're fired." "Fine by me," Emily shrugged. "I'm sure the medical board will be interested in my exit interview." The standoff stretched for several tense seconds before Sanderson's shoulders slumped. "You have no idea what you're doing. What forces you're messing with." "Step aside, doctor," Richard said quietly, "or the next people through that door will be the police and reporters." Sanderson hesitated, then grudgingly moved aside. "This isn't over. The Hales won't let this go. Neither will we," Gabriella promised, taking her mother's arm as they walked past. Outside, the morning sun bathed them in golden light as they hurried to the car. Elena paused for a moment, lifting her face to the warmth. "I haven't felt the sun without someone watching me in 20 years, she murmured. Richard squeezed her hand. "Let's go home, Elena. The real world is waiting." 3 months later, sunshine streamed through the bay windows of the Bennett home, catching dust motes that danced in the air above the grand piano where Elena's fingers moved hesitantly across the keys. The melody was simple, heart and soul, the kind of tune beginners learn first. "I keep expecting my muscle memory to take over," she said with a frustrated laugh as she hit another wrong note. "The doctor said it might come back in time." "You're doing wonderfully," Richard encouraged from the doorway, 2 coffee mugs in hand. Better than yesterday. The month since Elena's escape from Pinewood Haven had been a whirlwind of medical evaluations, legal proceedings, and gradual reacclimation to freedom. DNA tests had confirmed what they already knew. She was indeed Elena Bennett, not the mysterious Jane Doe. The revelation had triggered investigations into Pinewood Haven, Dr. Sanderson, and most significantly, the Hale Foundation. Elena accepted the coffee with a grateful smile. "Is Gabriella up yet?" Still sleeping, she was working late on her exhibition pieces. After postponing her graduation to deal with the family crisis, Gabriella had finally completed her final project, a multimedia installation exploring memory, identity, and reunion that had already attracted attention from several prestigious galleries. "She gets her artistic talent from you," Richard said, sitting beside Elena on the piano bench. "And her determination from you," Elena countered. She touched his face gently. "I still can't believe this is real sometimes, that I'm home." The adjustment hadn't been easy. Elena's memories returned in unpredictable waves, sometimes triggered by smells, sounds, or objects around the house. She remembered their wedding day perfectly, but couldn't recall where they'd spent their honeymoon. She knew every lullaby she'd sung to Gabriella, but struggled to remember her pregnancy. The gaps frustrated her, but her doctors were amazed by her progress. After 2 decades of unnecessary medication and isolation, her mind was remarkably resilient. "Good morning, family," Gabriella called, padding into the room in pajamas and fuzzy slippers, her hair tousled from sleep. At 24, there was still something childlike about her in these early morning moments, as if the little girl who'd been sent to St. Mary's was occasionally visible beneath the grown woman's surface. Elena beamed at the sight of her daughter. Every day with Gabriella felt like a gift, a chance to know the woman her little girl had become, despite the cruel separation. "Today's the big day," Richard reminded them both. "Are you sure you're ready for this, Elena?" Today, they would face Michael Hale for the first time since discovering the truth. Elena's expression sobered. "I need to hear it from him. Why he did this to us. What could possibly justify stealing 20 years of our lives?" The legal case against Michael was complicated by his deteriorating health. His Parkinson's had advanced significantly, and neurological evaluations suggested moderate dementia. The district attorney had reluctantly agreed that he was unlikely to stand trial successfully. Victoria had resigned from the university in disgrace when the story broke, though she maintained that she'd only been protecting her brother. The Hale Foundation was under investigation for financial irregularities related to Pinewood Haven, and several other patients' cases were being reviewed for similar inconsistencies. "We don't have to do this," Gabriella said, perching on the piano bench beside her mother. "The lawyers say we have enough for the civil suit without his testimony." "It's not about the lawsuit," Elena said quietly. "It's about closure. I spent 20 years as Jane Doe because of Michael's obsession. I need to understand why." Michael Hale's house was an imposing Tudor-style mansion set back from the road behind wrought iron gates. Once immaculately maintained, the grounds now showed signs of neglect. Overgrown hedges, weeds sprouting between flagstones on the walkway. Victoria met them at the door, her usual elegance somewhat diminished. The scandal had taken its toll on her as well. "He's having a good day, cognitively," she said without preamble. "But please keep it brief. Stress exacerbates his symptoms." The grand foyer led to a wood-paneled study where Michael Hale sat in a wheelchair by the window. Once an imposing figure in the medical community, he now appeared shrunken, his movements jerky from the Parkinson's. He turned as they entered. his eyes widening at the sight of Elena. "Elena," he breathed, his voice reedy but clear. "You came back." "Not back, Michael," she corrected firmly. "I was kept away. By you." His gaze shifted to Richard, then Gabriella, recognition flickering across his features. The family reunion. How touching. Despite his physical frailty, there was still something unsettling about his intensity, especially the way he looked at Elena, with a possessiveness that made Richard step protectively closer to his wife. "Why did you do it?" Richard asked directly. 20 years, Michael. You stole 20 years from us." Michael's hand trembled as he gestured for Victoria to pour him water. "You wouldn't understand. I was protecting the family. By destroying ours," Gabriella demanded, Michael's roomy eyes fixed on her. "You turned out fine, didn't you? Strong, educated, maybe better off without the complication." "What complication?" Elena asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. Michael and Victoria exchanged glances. "Show them," Michael directed his sister. Victoria hesitated, then crossed to an antique desk, removing a yellowed folder from a locked drawer. "Our father's private papers," she explained, placing the folder on the table between them. "Michael found them after his death, shortly before everything happened." Richard opened the folder cautiously. Inside were legal documents, letters, and what appeared to be medical records dating back to the 1950s. "Read the birth certificates," Michael instructed, his trembling hand raising to point. Richard examined the documents, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. "This can't be right. What is it?" Elena asked, moving to look over his shoulder. "According to this," Richard said slowly, "your father, Jonathan Hale, was also my father." Silence fell over the room like a heavy blanket. "That's not possible," Elena whispered. "Your parents were David and Margaret Bennett. I met them. David Bennett was sterile," Michael said flatly. "Margaret had an affair with our father. The dates align perfectly with Richard's birth." "You're saying Richard and I are half-siblings?" Elena's voice was barely audible. "DNA doesn't lie," Michael said. "I ran the tests myself after finding those papers. 25% shared DNA, half-siblings." Gabriella felt the room spinning around her. "So your solution was to fake their deaths, to separate them, to lock my mother away for 20 years. "I was protecting the family name," Michael insisted. "The scandal would have destroyed everyone. And their relationship was," he shuddered, "unnatural." "It was a lie," Richard said suddenly, his voice cutting through the tension. "All of it." Michael's expression faltered. "What?" "I had our DNA tested," Richard revealed. "Not just for paternity with Gabriella, but comparing Elena's and mine as well. We're not related, Michael. Not by blood, not by half." Victoria gripped the back of Michael's wheelchair. "But the papers could be referring to anyone," Richard said, "or completely fabricated. Did you actually verify them, Michael? Or did you see what you wanted to see?" Michael's face contorted, his tremors intensifying. "I saw the evidence with my own eyes." "Your obsession with Elena clouded your judgment," Richard said quietly. "You wanted a reason to separate us. So you found one, or created one." Elena stood very still, processing the implications. "You destroyed our lives based on a delusion. I loved you," Michael burst out, his composure shattering. "More than he ever could. I was saving you from him." The raw confession hung in the air, confirming what they'd suspected all along. Michael's twisted love for his sister had driven him to extreme measures. "You didn't love me," Elena said softly. "You wanted to possess me. There's a difference." Victoria's face had gone ashen. "Michael, did you falsify those documents?" His silence was answer enough. 20 years, Elena whispered. 20 years of my life. Gabriella's childhood. Our family. All because you couldn't accept that I loved Richard. Not you." Michael slumped in his wheelchair, suddenly looking every bit his age and illness. "I thought I was right," he murmured. "I convinced myself I was saving you." Richard placed the folder back on the table. "The district attorney will be interested in this conversation." "He's sick," Victoria protested weakly. "He's not well." "Neither was my mother for 20 years," Gabriella countered. Being sick doesn't erase what he did. As they turned to leave, Michael called out one last time, "Elena, please forgive me." Elena paused at the doorway, looking back at the broken man who had orchestrated her imprisonment. "Goodbye, Michael," she said simply, and walked out into the sunlight, her family beside her. 1 year later, the university hall buzzed with excitement as hundreds of guests filled the auditorium for the spring graduation ceremony. Gabriella adjusted her cap backstage, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation. After postponing her graduation to deal with the family crisis, and then completely reworking her final project, this moment felt surreal. "Nervous?" asked a familiar voice behind her. Gabriella turned to find her mother standing there, elegant in a navy blue dress, looking years younger than she had when they'd first found her at Pinewood Haven. The proper medical care, therapy, and, most importantly, freedom and family had worked wonders for Elena's recovery. "A little," Gabriella admitted. "I never thought this day would actually come. Well, I never thought I'd see my daughter graduate," Elena said, blinking back tears as she straightened Gabriella's cap. "So we're both experiencing something miraculous." The past year had been transformative for the Bennett family. Michael Hale had died 3 months after their confrontation, his health rapidly deteriorating. Following the revelations, Victoria had agreed to a substantial settlement in the civil case, avoiding a public trial that would have further damaged the Hale name. More importantly, the investigation into Pinewood Haven had revealed 2 other patients with similarly suspicious circumstances. People essentially disappeared through Michael's connections. They too had been reunited with shocked families who had believed them dead. Elena linked her arm through Gabriella's. "Your father's saving seats. He's probably intimidated half the faculty into giving us the best view." Richard had resigned from his position as university director, choosing instead to focus on his family and a book about their extraordinary journey. The manuscript, titled The Moon Child, was already generating interest from publishers. "Did Mother Superior arrive?" Gabriella asked as they walked toward the auditorium entrance. "Front row, looking exactly as formidable as you described," Elena smiled. "Though she did cry when she saw your exhibition photos." Gabriella's final project, a multimedia installation exploring identity, memory, and reunion, had won the university's prestigious Arts Award. It featured childhood artifacts from the orphanage, alongside recordings of Elena's recovered memories, creating a powerful narrative of loss and reclamation. "Places, everyone," called a coordinator, ushering the graduates into line. "That's my cue," Gabriella said, giving her mother a quick hug. Elena cupped her daughter's face, gently touching the crescent-shaped birthmark beneath her ear, a gesture that had become a treasured ritual between them. "We're so proud of you, Moonchild." As Elena took her seat beside Richard in the auditorium, she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. A year ago, she had been Jane Doe, a woman without a past or future, medicated into compliance in a facility that was more prison than hospital. Now she was herself again. Elena Bennett, professor, musician, wife, mother. The journey wasn't complete. She still had gaps in her memory, still woke sometimes disoriented and frightened. But she was healing, reclaiming her life piece by piece. Richard squeezed her hand as the graduates began filing onto the stage. "There she is," he whispered, pointing to Gabriella in the procession. Elena felt her heart swell with pride. Their daughter had grown into an extraordinary woman, despite, or perhaps because of, the challenges she'd faced. Resilient, determined, compassionate. Everything Elena could have hoped for. Mother Superior sat on Richard's other side, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. The elderly nun had been a crucial ally in their healing process, sharing stories of Gabriella's childhood that filled some of the gaps in their family history. When Gabriella's name was called, they all rose to their feet, applauding as she crossed the stage to receive her diploma. Elena couldn't stop the tears that flowed freely down her face. Tears of joy, of sorrow for what was lost, of gratitude for what had been found. Later that evening, as twilight settled over their home, the Bennett family gathered in the backyard for a celebratory dinner. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, and the table was set for a feast. Friends who had supported them through the ordeal, Nurse Emily, Richard's lawyer friend David, former colleagues who had stood by them, joined in the celebration. "A toast," Richard announced, raising his glass, "to new beginnings, hard-won truths, and the unbreakable bonds of family. As glasses clinked and conversation flowed, Gabriella noticed her mother slip away toward the house. She found Elena in the music room, sitting at the piano but not playing, lost in thought. "Mom, everything okay?" Elena looked up with a sad smile. "Just thinking about Michael, actually." Gabriella sat beside her mother on the bench. "Why? I found out something today," Victoria called. Elena's fingers traced the piano keys without pressing them. She found more of their father's papers. Genuine ones this time. It turns out Michael wasn't entirely delusional after all. Gabriella tensed. "What do you mean?" Jonathan Hale, their father, my father, had an affair with Margaret Bennett years before Richard was born. It ended badly, but they reconnected briefly during her marriage. Elena took a deep breath. The timing makes it possible that Richard could be Jonathan's son, though we'll never know for certain now. So, Michael might have been right about you and Dad being related. It's possible, though our DNA test showed no relation. But that's not what matters. Elena turned to face her daughter fully. What matters is that even if it were true, what Michael did was unforgivable. Separating a family, imprisoning me, abandoning you. Nothing justifies that kind of cruelty. Gabriella absorbed this in silence. "Are you going to tell Dad?" "I already did. We agreed it doesn't change anything." Elena smiled softly. "Family is about more than DNA, Gabriella. It's about choice, about love, about fighting to find each other even when the world conspires to keep you apart." From the doorway, Richard's voice joined the conversation. "And we chose each other, 20 years ago and again today." He crossed the room to join them at the piano. The three of them fitting perfectly on the bench meant for two. "Victoria also shared something else with your mother," he said to Gabriella. "Something you should know." Elena nodded. "Apparently, Michael had second thoughts almost immediately after separating us. Within months, he tried to find you at St. Mary's, but you had already been transferred to their main facility. The paperwork was misplaced, and he lost track of you." "He looked for me?" Gabriella asked, surprised. "In his own twisted way, he regretted what he'd done to you," Richard said, "though clearly not enough to tell me you were alive." "I don't know if that makes it better or worse," Gabriella admitted. "Neither do I," Elena agreed. "But I think it's important to understand that even the worst actions come from human motivations. Misguided, selfish, even delusional, but human." Richard placed his hands on the piano keys, playing the opening notes of a familiar melody. The lullaby Elena had sung to Gabriella as a child. Elena joined in, her voice tentative at first, then growing stronger. "Moonchild, starchild, dream without fear." Gabriella listened, transfixed, as the melody unlocked one of her earliest memories, being held in her mother's arms while this very song floated around them. Outside, their guests continued celebrating under the stars, unaware of the intimate moment unfolding in the music room. But inside, the Bennett family had created a sanctuary of truth, forgiveness, and hope. A space where the past could be acknowledged without allowing it to overshadow the future. As the final notes of the lullaby faded, Gabriella touched her crescent birthmark, once a symbol of her mysterious origins, now a badge of her rightful place in a family that had defied time, deception, and tragedy to find its way back together. "Let's rejoin the party," Richard suggested, standing and offering his hands to both women. "We have a graduation to celebrate, and a future to build," Elena added, rising to embrace her daughter. Together, they walked back into the warm evening light, where friends awaited and new memories waited to be made. A family restored, stronger at the broken places, finally home.